Every year, new fad diets hit the market to fill the void for your average everyday person, consuming the need to fit in with the rest of society.
Sometimes literally.
In 2015, a scientific report would take the world by storm as it claimed there was evidence showing that eating chocolate was good for weight loss.
Are you out of your damn mind?
The study was conducted and spearheaded by Peter Onneken and Diane Lobl, journalists and filmmakers. However, with the help of John Bohannon, they would all find themselves at the epicenter of a media frenzy.
And rightfully so. If I found out that pizza was the surest way to a six-pack, you bet your ass I'd eat 2 pies an hour.
Yes! Come to Papa!
However, not all is what it seems.
What constitutes a healthy diet has been debated on by nutritionists and scientists since the beginning of modern-day food consumption.
But hey, at the very least, we can trust the experts, right?
Such important figureheads like the Institute of Diet and Health. Surely such a reputable organization like this one would put the well-being of the consumer first and foremost, right? And if you thought to yourself, of course, they're a well-renowned, world-famous science group. Why wouldn't they? Well, then it did its job because
there's no such thing as the Institute of Diet and Health.
Bullshit.
In fact, the Institute of Diet and Health is one of 2 lies John Bohannon told when he helped Peter Onneken and Diane Lobl create the Institute of Diet and Health to help present their bogus chocolate findings.
The truth is that the whole experiment was a work.
John Bohannon was able to masterfully present the real data gathered by Peter Onneken and Diane Lobl. The data was in fact both true and misleading at the same time. It was then used in a way that created a giant spotlight on some of the major problems in not only nutrition but the world of science and science journalism in general today.
So how the hell did they do that?
Well, today we're not only going to take a look at how they managed to fool the whole world into believing chocolate was good for weight loss, but we're also going to take a brief look at the people instrumental in making it popular.
This is Losing Weight with Chocolate, or How They Fooled the World. And to those that missed the first portion of this video to go off and buy a candy bar, I'm no licensed dietitian, but no, only eating chocolate will not help with weight loss.
I want to get to the meat and potatoes of the video right away, but I think it's important to understand a bit of the people behind the chocolate being good for weight loss scam. To kick things off, we have Diane Lobl, who was born in 1977, and Peter Onneken, who was born in 1975. Both are investigative journalists out of Germany who have worked together on various documentary films.
For the sake of simplicity, I am putting these two together, mostly for the fact that they are both colleagues, but also for the fact that prior to the chocolate study, almost all of their work was together.
One of their most notable films is entitled, and pardon the butchering of the German language, but Ausgeliefert Leibert bei Amazon, or Delivered Temporary Workers at Amazon, which was released in 2013. In it, the duo uncovered that a delivery center in the town of Bad Hersfeld had contracted out security guards who allegedly had neo-Nazi backgrounds, or at the very least dressed as neo-Nazis. Shortly after the film's release, Amazon removed the company from its organization.
I say allegedly because you can watch the entirety of the documentary itself on YouTube. However, to the best of my knowledge, there isn't an English translated version of it available.
I can understand a little bit of German, but only enough to really get by. However, this bizarre story is a topic I'd really love to delve into a bit more at a future date.
It's become pretty obscure, and judging on how fucking huge Amazon is now in comparison to 2013, yeah, I'm not really surprised either.
Funny enough, if you were to look up the film on Amazon, all you're met with are sales for herbal substances.
However, the film on the chocolate weight loss scam is available on Prime to stream, albeit it's basically buried to fucking oblivion on there.
Next up, we have John Bohannon, the man who initially was the inspiration for this video.
And believe me when I say that this guy is amazing.
John Bohannon was born sometime before 2002?
Maybe it's just me, but I couldn't actually find a date on when he was born.
In 2002, though, he would gain his PhD from Oxford University. On his own website, he states he followed a girl to college only to end up gaining a PhD in molecular biology.
I guess crazier things can accidentally happen.
From here, he would work as a journalist and write many scientific papers all around the world, which would ultimately help him later on in life when he would attempt to fool the world with the chocolate miracle discovery. A few other notable exceptions, which we may cover in future videos, are that while he was in Afghanistan in 2010, he was able to convince the US government and military to release data on civilian casualties from that war. This took place only a few years after he had critiqued the survey group, The Lancet, on their data for civilian casualties of the Iraq War.
This is the US government and the military, so that's not fucking easy to do.
He was also able to prove that 60% of all peer-reviewed science papers were complete BS.
Bullshit.
And while working with the American Association of Wine Economists, he was able to get Stephen Colbert to eat cat food on live TV.
Eating really great dog food or really cheap pate.
This guy's a fucking legend.
And that brings us to 2015, the year of the infamous study on chocolate and weight loss. A year that would make these three people infamous in the dieting world.
Quick side note, I actually came across an article published by the BBC that actually predates the 2015 study.
It's called Chocolate May Help Keep People Slim, and it was published in 2012. I couldn't find anything that linked it as inspiration for the 2015 study, but I thought I should mention it as this article wouldn't get nearly as much attention before or after the chocolate blitzkrieg that was to come.
I'll have it linked below if you want to read it over.
However, our story begins in late 2014 where John Bohannon received a phone call from Diane Lobl and Peter Onneken, who were putting together a documentary in regards to junk food science. Without running the whole plan beat for beat, their experiment was as follows. Create a legitimate science experiment with real variables and real people, but when it came time to present that data, they would do something called p-hacking.
Which basically means shifting around your data or experiment so that your significant results can fall under a mathematical percentage of being deemed true or acceptable under the circumstances.
Or casually putting it, basically messing with the data or the numbers or the experiment until you get the answer that you want.
After gathering the data needed, they would then attempt to trick various publications into publishing their findings as true. To do this, they would shop around to various journals who, after receiving an upfront payment, would publish their findings. The question then becomes, why even bother doing this?
Simple, really, to catch reputable media outlets of not doing any research and then just publishing non-vetted recycled garbage in order to generate a buzz to create capital for their website.
Creating and sharing clickbait.
And to say it worked would be a legitimate understatement.
A great study released just in time for Easter.
Word from a group of German researchers. Your secret ingredient just may be the sweet surprise hidden inside those plastic Easter eggs.
According to a German study, daily cocoa intake can actually help you lose weight.
Interestingly, the media wildfire took a bit of time to get going though. As noted in the documentary The Chocolate Diet, at first, aside from a few small science and nutrition blogs, no one was really talking about this study. And this wasn't because the team had any missteps either. In fact, the team itself followed the John Bohannon playbook almost to the T. Get yourself published by a junk science journal, as a lot of them are unfortunately motivated by cash.
Some of them want $100 from us.
Create an organization to back up your claims, create a social media presence.
Hola, chicas! German scientists made a study feeding dieters chocolate.
Hi guys, just read this article about a turbo chocolate diet.
Hell, they even went so far as to create a song and a rap about the damn thing.
The chocolate transformation changed my life.
The chocolate transformation gonna change your life.
Yeah, it's a bit cringe, but neither one of them really got noticed.
So what was missing? In truth, nothing.
But that's not right!
It's the same in almost every single walk of life. You can have every single thing planned down to the minute detail, and sometimes it just comes down to being noticed or having a little bit of luck.
Fortune would smile on the group though, as all it took was Bild, one of Europe's biggest news outlets, to feature them in their paper after discovering an article published by a doctor who specialized in...
Professor from somewhere in Pakistan. His speciality is poultry sperm. I have no idea why they want our chocolate article.
Not only were they featured in the Bild newspaper, but they made the front cover.
This is where the Institute of Diet and Health also comes into play, as in their article, they quote the Institute for its groundbreaking work. They then continue to praise the diet and the Germans involved with this discovery.
And they never even looked at the study.
It's so fascinating how fast word of this spread after it was featured in the Bild paper.
What I find even more interesting is just how hard these copy pasta articles are to find these days. I don't know, it's like they're embarrassed or something.
It's actually pretty astounding that no one took the time to read the actual research itself, as it was always actively available and super easy to find.
Which, if I was reading the right paper that I'll have linked below, it's only like 8 pages, with 2 of those being reference sheets, and the rest of the pages being basically filled with graphs.
The experiment went as follows. A group of test subjects would be placed into 3 separate groups. Group A was on a diet but also eats 1 chocolate bar a day. Group B is only on a diet, while Group C has no changes whatsoever.
Here's what makes this really genius though.
By the researchers' own admissions, they intentionally put people into Group A that they knew would stick out the diet while placing those that wouldn't into Group B. Whereas Group C, it didn't really matter. That way they could show later on all it took was rearranging the groups a specific way to get the data that they desired, with no real checks and balances.
And this made it past peer review. Terrifying.
Even by John Bohannon's own admission, even if they hadn't messed with the variables from the outset, the study was doomed from the beginning. To quote John Bohannon, "Even if we had been careful to avoid p-hacking, our study was doomed by the tiny number of subjects, which amplifies the effects of uncontrolled factors." This is because in order to obtain proper results, a large pool of test subjects must be available to account for outliers and random swings with variables.
Now, to be fair, there definitely were critics of the study, you know, the ones that actually read the report.
It wasn't until the group finally outed themselves that the chocolate hysteria died a very sudden and dramatic death.
So after everything was said and done, this whole chocolate being a good weight loss tool thing was dead, right? Well,
it has died down significantly, and yes, there is some evidence to suggest that small amounts of chocolate can be healthy for you, but overall, it's not the secret weight loss item that you need. This fake study did a lot to wake up many people to the shortcomings of not only internet journalism, but the entity as a whole, as well as how lax certain organizations are within the science community. However, scams and misinformation are still prevalent in the world of science journalism and nutritional quote-unquote experts. If you go on YouTube, you can find plenty of clickbaity articles that say you can lose weight by eating chocolate.
However, after watching these videos, there's almost always the caveat of, with proper diet and exercise, which, yeah, no shit.
Which, I don't know. To me, it kind of undercuts your whole argument of chocolate being good for weight loss if you're just going to burn the carbs and such naturally anyway. Looking back on the experiment as a whole, if anything, it created a stark reality for many people, including myself.
The most terrifying thing about this study is just how factually well presented it was, and how easy it is to trick the everyday consumer.
Now let me explain. In order to do this, the team needed to conduct real tests and gather actual facts and present them in a way that showed the team to be earnest and sincere with their findings. By creating the fake Institute of Diet and Health, they were able to cover their tracks even more so by making themselves sound very, very official.
Creating a scenario where they'll present just enough factually present information while covering up their BS.
In order to truly see past all of that, you have to be willing to see past all the smiles and hand waves, but as the team showed, most organizations were looking for a headline to sell.
This isn't a new tactic either. Companies have been basically doing this forever. It's only recently with the advent of the internet that it's been harder and harder to cover up.
Now, the average Joe can mosey on over to various websites with access to medical journals or studies that have been done in order to read the data themselves. Almost all scientific research and papers are readily available and for the most part are peer-reviewed as well.
Which is also kind of bullshit based on some work done by John Bohannon, but one subject at a time.
We still see it today. Whether it's on social media or the news, people will copy-paste the first thing that they see that they know will generate buzz, without considering the material, nuances, context, or consequences. Hell, more often than not, whether it's even true.
We're humans, so it's okay to screw up. You know, no one's infallible, and sometimes we just get shit wrong, or we just end up not doing the proper due diligence.
But a multi-billion-dollar corporation that has your best interest in mind?
Nah, you don't get a free pass.
There is a bit of consolation though, as even if the peer reviewers suck, there is enough genuine good people out there with real data and great teaching abilities that can help you spot crap studies and crap statistic companies use to try to shill their even crappier products on your own. To this day, both Peter Onneken and Diane Lobl still work in investigative journalism while John Bohannon continues to experiment on the world itself.
I fully intend to come back to both of these groups in the future. However, in the meantime, if you ever find yourself looking at one of these miracle diets and wondering, is this actually gonna work that well for me? It probably won't, but then again, I'm not a scientist. Anyway, keep things light and rebellious, and I'll see you guys in the next video.